My boyfriend and I met 7 years ago on Facebook, like 5% of Americans according to Pew Research do. And the rest, they say, is history. Wait, no really. Let's back up. This is a really good story. 7 years ago, I was sitting in free period with my friend Jamar on these really terrible laptops we got from the school that were supposed to be so great, but they never worked. Ever. We were browsing our news feeds on Facebook when one of his friends from his hometown popped up on the screen. He caught my eye instantly, but I didn't want to say anything. Before I knew it, Jamar turned his screen my way and said, "This guy is just your type." I didn't want to act like I already knew it from first glance. So I replied, "No way, how would you know?" He replied, "Well, look at him. He's like every guy I've ever seen you talk to. He's tall and athletic. He plays varsity football and basketball too. This is your type to a T." When I heard this news, it was like I had won the lottery. I instantly wanted to meet him. Jamar obviously could tell, so he took my computer and added him as a friend on my Facebook. I look so creepy right now, I thought to myself. I've never even met this kid. But sure enough, he accepted my friend request. Apparently, completely unbeknown to me, until a recent interview with my boyfriend, Jamar had already talked to Shannon about me prior to this event, so I didn't seem as creepy as I thought 7 years ago. A few days went by, and we had not exchanged messages with each other. So one day, I liked his status. Next thing you know, he liked one of mine. So I liked another one of his. This is how our relationship began. For months, all we did was like each other's statuses and pictures. I used to sit up for hours at night stalking his Facebook to learn everything about him without even talking to him. I was consumed by Facebook because of this guy I had never met in person. This was our relationship for the first few months. One night on Facebook, while procrastinating from doing my homework because I was consumed with social media, a Facebook Messenger alert went off. I looked at my screen, and across the bottom it said, Shannon Johnson. I got so excited, I could not bear to open it. I instantly had a million butterflies floating in my stomach. I wonder what he said, I thought to myself. I was shaking. What if he thinks I am a creep? What if he asked me to meet him? What if he isn't real? I quickly shook these ideas out of my head and tried to calm down, as if he could feel the emotions I was feeling through the computer screen in front of me. I opened a little blue box on the bottom of the screen and read, "Hey, do you think I'm cute?" I burst out with an eruption of laughter. I got nervous for that. My mom yelled from the other room, "What's so funny?" "Nothing," I replied. If I told her I had met a guy on social media, she would scold me and give me a lecture about how 1/3 of girls my age were meeting strangers they met online in person, and the dangers of it all. And I, quite frankly, was not in the mood, because, well, I didn't really care. I replied back even though I knew the answer. Why else would I be liking all of his statuses and pictures for months now? I replied, "Maybe," with a winky emoji. The conversation continued all night long, and eventually we exchanged phone numbers, which made the conversation even longer. I couldn't wait to go to school the next day to tell Jamar everything that happened that night. As the week came to an end, we finally exchanged numbers. We texted and called each other nonstop. There wasn't a night that went by that we weren't talking on the phone for hours. I got lost in a trance of talking to him. Before I knew it, it would be 2 or 3 in the morning. I would find every way possible to sneak my phone out in class and reply to his text messages. I was mesmerized by this virtual relationship that I had created within a week. Within a week, it had been like we had known each other for years. Like 41% of teenagers and young adults, I felt closer to Shannon because of online conversations and text messages. I felt like I had someone who I could always confide in. Months had gone by following the same pattern of waking up, texting, going throughout the day texting, and not going to bed until we called each other on the phone. It was winter now, and I was at the mall with my mom after basketball practice. As we walked through the food court, I heard my phone beep. I had a text message from Shannon. I looked down to read it, and it read, "Hey, I think I just saw you walk by me and my friend. We're at the Burger King in the food court." I immediately hated myself for not forcing my mom to take me home first to shower and get ready after practice before we went to the mall. My hair looked like a rat's nest, and I had the baggiest sweatshirt and sweatpants on. I looked horrific, but I couldn't pass up this opportunity to meet him. Besides, there was still a small part of me who wanted to make sure I wasn't being catfished like the hundreds of people on that MTV show. I desperately wanted to shake that idea out of my head. So I said real fast to my mom, "I'll be right back." And I sped towards the food court. Of course, I naturally slowed down right before I got there, not to make myself look too anxious. But on the inside, butterflies were fluttering around in my stomach so much it hurt. When we saw each other, he stood up and gave me the biggest and best hug I had ever gotten in my entire life. I was on cloud 9. Until a few nights later, when I got a text that said, "Hey, I gotta go. My girl just got here." I was dumbfounded. I did not understand. What did he mean he had a girl? I thought to myself. I had never felt so stupid in my entire life, but something in me told me to play it cool. After all, he had become one of my closest friends in all of eternity with just a few short months. Maybe, just maybe, I could play this to my advantage. I devised an evil plan. I was not going to let him figure out that I was hurt by this newly found information. I was going to continue to get closer to him as a friend, and eventually, I would win him over. Ironically enough, as expressed in an interview, Shannon does not remember this event in our history still to this day, no matter how many times I try to tell him it happened. Go figure, a guy doesn't remember breaking a girl's heart. For 5 years, we had bumped into each other several times at basketball tournaments around all of South Jersey and stopped to chat, but never really hung out. Besides our random bump-ins, our relationship remained online. We watched each other go in and out of relationships and confided in each other when we had problems with our boyfriend or girlfriend. We were best friends, connected through phone and Facebook. Flash forward through those 5 years to the summer before my sophomore year of college, and how things have changed. Shannon was single and just transferred home from Misericordia University to go to University of Delaware. I was in a bad relationship from my senior year of high school and commuting to Rowan University. I was fed up with my relationship, and Shannon knew it. I talked to him about it every day and every night. We talked about what it would be like if we were to be together. Every day I looked forward to talking to Shannon, not my boyfriend at the time. I would be very moody with my boyfriend, but very happy with Shannon. I honestly was just looking for a way out of this controlling and suffocating relationship that I had been in for a year and a half. And then, August 17th, 2013 came along. If there is a day I can remember every detail of, it is this day. I was out all night the night before with my friends before everyone went back to school. My boyfriend at the time was blowing up my phone because, well, God forbid I went out with my friends and he wasn't invited. I would have turned off my phone, but I was of course talking to Shannon the entire time. And once again, I was bitching at the fact that my boyfriend was so annoying and I was so over my relationship and still looking for a way out. My friends and I were up until 3 a.m, and I was helping one of them move into school the next day. All throughout the day on the 17th, I was texting Shannon and helping my friend move into her dorm for our sophomore year of school. When I got home that day, my boyfriend was waiting for me at my house, but I was exhausted and just wanted to sleep. And of course, that was a problem. Flash forward through a really long fight, and I finally had my reason to break up with him. I was surprised at the fact that I didn't want to cry, but I had already known whom I really wanted to be with. I immediately texted Shannon and headed down to his house. We clicked instantly. It was as if we were friends and hanging out every day for years. I instantly became obsessed with being around him. It was even better than being in person. And from that day on, the rest, they say, is really history. I, like 74% of teenage and adult internet users, would say that the internet had an impact on my relationship and would say the impact was positive. I truly believe that Shannon and I would not be together right now if we had not formed our relationship on Facebook. If this digital literacy did not exist, there is a very slim chance that we would not know each other even existed. Shannon also believes that Facebook did us a big favor in the fact that without it, we would not be in the relationship we are today. My digital literacy story really connects with Reingold's digital know-how. He tells readers that if we are not digitally literate, we will not be able to form and progress in social lives. I believe that our relationship would not be that strong if it wasn't for all the years we communicated through Facebook and text. In a way, I was also using Reingold's 5 literacies when talking to Shannon on Facebook. I paid attention when Jamar showed me his friends on his newsfeed. I participated by actively posting on Facebook and liking Shannon's pictures and posts on Facebook. I was sort of able to determine that he was real through a crap detection process of searching his pictures and researching about him, as creepy as that sounds. Together, we collaborated in an online digital literacy and then through a texting digital literacy. Finally, we both had network smarts. We knew how to operate the website intelligently enough to have conversations and form a relationship together. A recent article on Huffington Post said, in fact, we actually first met and grew a relationship on Twitter and Facebook. We were grateful for social media because if it was not for Twitter, we would not have met. This resonated with me well because if it were not for Facebook and Jamar, me and Shannon would have never met and formed the strong and amazing relationship we have today. We would have never experienced such an amazing digital literacy story. We probably would have not been together in any way, shape, or form if it were not for Facebook. Without Facebook, there would be no us.